All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well. This is kind of tricky, so I'm going to walk through 13.3 work together with you. Don't just copy these answers. Walk through it with me because then you can do it with the application problem. We're going to be taking this information and putting it onto through this form. You'll need some of this in the directions, obviously, as well. So you have the number here goes up into the employer identification number, you have the company address, all that information is here. Okay, so that's just kind of the heading for this 941. It's an employer's quarterly federal tax return. Quarterly means every 3 months. So the months we're looking at is this is our earnings and our taxes withheld for January, February, and March. Earnings here, this is like that what you worked on with the single, married, and allowances, and what they withheld, and then this is employee Social Security tax and then Medicare tax. So we're gonna sometimes we'll go totals and sometimes we'll go for months depending on what they ask. We have 8 employees, so you just put that number down in line 1. Line 2, it says wages, tips, and other compensation here. This 35,640 number. That is adding up your total earnings for the quarter. The quarter meaning 3 months, January, February, March. Add these 3 numbers up, gets you 35,640. Total income tax withheld from wages, tips, and expenses, or compensation, excuse me. This line, and again, they talk about wages, tips, and a lot of times we don't do it, but basically what they're talking about are the numbers. Line 3, the federal income tax withheld numbers for all 3 months. You add these up, you get 2,144. So that's the first 3 lines. Over here, then, they take total taxable Social Security wages because it's under the tax base. Is these 3 months' earnings, which is they already added up, 35,640. Now we're multiplying it by that 0.124 number that you have there. So what is 1.124 if that is our, because we have to pay Social Security and Medicare, both employee and employer has to match it. So instead of the 0.062% tax, we are multiplying our total quarter taxable earnings times 0.124. Why is it 0.124? Because in Social Security tax is 0.062, but we have to multiply it by double it because we have employee and employer. We withhold the employee, we have to match it. So that's why that 6.2% becomes 12.4% of their earnings that they pay out. There are no Social Security tips, so we just put 0. I think you probably have to put zeros in there. Again, our quarterly taxable earnings number here times 0.29%. So what is the 0.029 is 2.9%. What number is that? That's our Medicare tax. The employee number we have withheld is usually multiplied by 0.0145, that 1.45%. But since it's the employee amount of money we withheld and the employer has to match it, we are multiplying that number by 2. The 0.0145 times 2 is 0.029, so 2.9%. Okay, and people get confused because it's a little difficult, but this is just Social Security tax. This is just our Social Security tax, and we're, instead of taking it, and we could have multiplied this number times 0.062 times 2, they just are multiplying it by the double amount, employee and employer. So 0.062 becomes 12.4. This, instead of multiplying 35,640 times 1.45% times 2, they're just taking 1.45%, doubling it, and taking it. We add these numbers up, and it tells you there, add these numbers up, add up Social Security and Medicare wages, and you end up with this number. Again, we don't have tips and wages. So then on line 6E, we add up the 2,144 that we have taken out, and that again, that number was our federal income tax, and then we add that number to 5D, which is our employee and Medicare tax times 2, because the employer has to pay, the employers pay both. So we get this number, adding line 3 and 5D up. We put zeros in the rest. Again, we're doing a very basic idea. We drop this number down that says total taxes after adjustments. We have a 0, total taxes after adjustments. And we just keep, you can just follow along. We get down here to the end, wages and tips, we have 0. So lines, we're adding these lines up. So we just constantly bring these down. Now as a employee, as you get older, you might have different examples and different things you're taking out depending on your situation. But this is all we're doing. So this is the number you're working on. And you're getting that number and all this information from this chart and from these instructions. And that's how you're going to fill this form out. Then we're going down to this form. I'm going to keep my information up. How do we go about getting the tax for month 1, 2, and 3? So now we're got to be thinking month. And again, you'll put Illinois as our state. Yes, we're a monthly scheduled depositor because of the amount of money we make. So we have these tax liability. Well, how do we come up with this number? Okay, when we're talking about month 1 is January. So we have this number, 721.68, right? We take 721.68, we multiply it by 2 to count for the employee and employer's amount. All right, you get that 721.68, multiply it by 2. We take 168.78, multiply it by 2. Add those two numbers up, and then add this number up. And that number is $2,478.92. Again, this federal income tax is only paid by the employer. We withhold this amount of money from the employee for Social Security, hold this amount of money for the Medicare, and then the employer has to match it. So we take 721.68 times 2, get a number. 168.78 times 2, get a number. You add those two numbers up and add it to 698, and that's where you get 247.92. Then you do the same thing for month 2 and 3. Multiply the Social Security tax times 2, the Medicare tax times 2, add those two numbers up, add it to the federal income tax, 718, and you get that number. And that's how you complete this. I think it was easier than going through it and trying to figure all that out on your own. And you can take this video, kind of help yourself with the application problem. Good luck, everybody.